here's everything you should need to hook up your KBAC 27 to a 3-phase motor. And the 2 wires I have here are 12 gauge 3-wire SOOW wiring, which is just safety wire and what you use for most, machinery or power tools. And the 3 wires in this, you have 2, the white and the black, and then the green, which is the ground. So sometimes you'll see this as 12-2 with ground, or more typically 12-3. And you could buy this as an extension cord instead, because they sell extension cords that'll have 12-3 in it, and then you don't have to wire this up to the other end. But this is what I got, as well as a shorter piece of 12-4 wire. So this will have 4 wires and obviously 3 plus the ground. So this is what's going to go from your VFD to your motor, and this is going to be going from the plug into the VFD. And I'm going to be setting mine up at 115, and your KBAC normally comes wired up for 220, so there's a bit of a switch that has to be made there. To the manual here, you should be able to see this 208 or 230 volt AC line input factory setting to 230 volt or 220. It's all the same. And then 115 AC line input is here. Is that right here? This white jumper says 230 volt above it. This has to be unplugged. Thing was a real pain to get off. And KBAC recommends just taking a pair of needle nose pliers and getting on there, wiggling it back and forth carefully and popping it off. Took me still a little while of fiddling with it. Just don't get frustrated and be patient, and that'll pop off. So that came off of the 230 volt here, and then that just moves on to the 115. Like that. And it is a circuit board, so you want to be careful. You don't want to break it, obviously. So some other things they don't do, you got to set your jumper J2 to the position of the motor being used, and that's on the back here. So for the 27D, which is this model, it needs to be to the second position for 1.5 horsepower, which is what this motor is. So J2 is this right up here. So that pulls off, move it to the second position. Just go through these steps, and that's what I'm going to do now. If there's anything that I have to change, I'll point that out. That should be everything with this for now. Just go put that aside, and next is the wiring. So I'm gonna grab the 12-3 wire. Once you have the 3 wires isolated, just take your wire strippers. It's 12 gauge. So that's 3 ends there. This will go into this. This will have to go through here first. So there's your plug. That was the easy part. Now, these stripped. I'm going to go over to the VFD for a second. This has 2 goes on the bottom. This one will be your power from the wall, more likely because that's what side it's on. That'll be going to your motor because that's what side the floor is on. So you take one of these, and you grab your other side of your cable here that we just stripped. There's the ground, and then I'm going to do left one is white and the right one is black. That's just how I'm going to do it. It shouldn't really matter, so I'm just going to do the same process over again. For these little ring studs for the wire, you might have to file down or grind down each side of them because they come round and these are rectangular slots, so they don't fit as well as you might hope. You could jam it in there and they'll bend a little bit, but if you have a file, just do that. So now that that is hooked up, power, we're going to do the wiring to the motor. And for these little collars, you'll need one that's 3/4 inch for this bigger hole, and then two that are either 3/8 or 1/2 inch. I went with 3/8 to be safe instead of buying the wrong size over and over. And that'll be a fit this smaller hole, and it will also fit an iron horse 1.5 horsepower motor for the hub here. So your motor might be different than that, but that's what I'm doing for this particular setup. Now, from what I've seen, it doesn't matter necessarily. You can switch the wires around, and switching them changes the direction which the motor spins. So for this setup on a 2x72, the Nexus grinder, you need it to spin counterclockwise in order for the belt to come around like this. Some you might want it to go clockwise if you're using a surface grinder or whatever you might be setting it up to. So it's a matter of putting them in, seeing which way your motor turns, and then switching them around. So I am going black here on the left. Then white in the middle. And finally red on the far right here. So there's a good look at how they are. Your two greens obviously going to the green screws. The order is from your 12/4 wire, black, white, red, and we'll see how that turns the motor. And then from your power line, white and black. So we're going to close this up for now and turn our attention to this iron horse motor. This is where things get really intimidating because there's just a bunch of wires sticking out. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take, just from this, the yellow, gray, and black wires. So T6, T4, and T5. Now these aren't used for this application at all, so they're already stripped. You're going to want to get them together here. And just put them a ret. Those are those dealt with, so that's 3 already done. Then I'm just going to pop this out to put the safety, put the strain relief on that. Just double check which way your motor setup is going to go to best optimize which hole to punch out. Once you've got all your wires inside, these 3 are tied off. The next 3 you're going to need are the black and yellow and the orange, so the Kill Bill wire and the orange wire. These are going to go with your black lead coming from your VFD. So get all these 3. So that's that sorted. Next one is your white lead. And that's going to go together with this blue, purple colored, almost lavender wire and the brown wire. So these two, and they are going to connect to your white lead coming off the VFD. And finally, your red lead is going to connect to the red and white leads in your motor. So these are your T2 and T8, the red and white. Have the yellow, black, and orange, which are T9 and T3, connect to your black lead coming out of your VFD. Then you have your white lead connecting to the lavender and brown, which are your T7 and T1, so T7, T1 and white. And finally, your red lead is connecting to the red and white, which are your T2 and T8. Then lastly, your ground, there's a little green screw in there, which your ground will screw onto. So for this side, you just need one plug. Plugging it in, VFD has power. See, the motor is spinning, but it is spinning clockwise, which is the wrong way. So I'm going to switch it over to counterclockwise. I'll show you guys how that's done. So it should just be as simple as switching the white and black leads. And make sure you're switching the ones on the left here, because those are the ones that are going to your motor. That is all done. Let's see if it works. Got power, got status, nothing broke. In that meantime, flip it up to start. And now you can see that the motor is spinning counterclockwise. That's everything you should need to be able to set up your KBAC 27D VFD to this particular Iron Horse 1.5 horsepower motor. I'll put in the description all the parts and components you need, and also links for where I got these two items. This one is from a Canadian company, Nexus Grinders. They sell them on their website. They also do sell this Iron Horse motor in a 1, 1.5, and 2 horsepower option, I believe. I got this one from Automation Direct, which sells all kinds of electric motors and everything, and they ship from the US. They also ship to Canada, and they do their own customs over the border, so you don't have to worry about this showing up and having to pay someone $50 that you didn't expect. You just have to pay the exchange rate. So when I picked this up, it was about $150. So after tax and the exchange rate, it's over 200, but they shipped it to me within 2 days as well, from Georgia, I believe, is where it came from. So that is where I'd recommend this. And this, I'd get it from Nexus. They have really good feedback and customer support. But if you can find it somewhere else for cheaper, then go ahead with that.